This is the word of the Lord.
Thank you, Ian. I think that's the first time I've heard you do the reading. That's right. You do everything else, but that's great. Thanks. Many years ago, I was a freelance graphic artist in the suburb of Milsons Point by the harbour on the north side, and I watched the redevelopment of that area take shape. Single-level homes and buildings were constantly being bulldozed in little clumps, and these massive holes were being dug in the ground. And I would watch week after week, month after month, as they go further and further down into the ground. The developers were building tower blocks of office units and residential units, and the higher the tower was to be, it seemed, the deeper the hole they dug, because it turns out foundations are really important. Now, St. Paul offers what appears to be an unrealistic vision of the way human beings might build their life with one another when he says things like, with all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another with psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with thankfulness in your heart to God. Is that how you spent Christmas? Maybe you did. Good on you. I don't think Paul is blue sky dreaming. He had caught a glimpse of a way of people relating together that strengthens each part as it strengthens the whole. Rather than seeking sectarian advantage over others, Paul was thinking of a way that made everybody stronger. The greatest strength is found in everybody working together. But to build a life like that, you need the best foundation. And Paul describes that foundation in these terms: chosen, holy, beloved. Paul says we are chosen. One of the features of life today is the number of choices we are forced to make all the time. There's a vast array of brands. I go shopping with my girls and one wants a cap, but it has to have the exact logo on it that she's looking for. There's so many caps, but styles of almost anything, whether it's clothing or groceries. How many spreads are there on the shelf, or different styles of toilet paper, for goodness sake? Preferences for drinks. Even in our home, I say, anyone want toast for breakfast? Yes, please. What kind of toast do you want? We've got fruit toast, we've got Turkish bread, we've got gluten-free. It seems hunger for novelty has spawned a cruel burden of never-ending choice. Choice, once associated with freedom of choice, has almost become a slavery in our day. Not another choice I have to make. Many things, of course, are chosen for us. We don't choose everything. The most basic things in our life are chosen for us. Our very DNA. We don't choose our DNA, it's given to us. We don't choose the parents who raise us. We don't choose that we are born. That just happens. We don't choose where we are born. We don't choose our economic circumstances in terms of where we're raised and so forth. We are well versed with the notion of freedom of choice, but in a world of overwhelming options, sometimes the freedom from choice is actually the greater freedom. And this might account for some of the rush, I think, to extreme fundamentalisms of various kinds. These offer a way of engaging life that actually reduces our options. Extreme fundamentalism renders many things not negotiable. You don't have to think about it anymore. Extremists are liberated from enduring so many negotiations about everything. Something to think about. When St. Paul calls the followers of Jesus those who are chosen by God, this is not a pronouncement of exclusion. It's not as if the point were that we are superior to others who were not chosen. No, this is a pronouncement of liberation. The choice not need burden you. You don't have to choose. You have been chosen. Even in our egocentric ways, we can tangle this into all sorts of unanswerable riddles like, how do I know if I'm chosen? Or why was I chosen and not that other person? But these questions take us out of relationship with God in a needless and unhelpful objectification. Kind of like me wondering, why did my wife Jo choose me? I can't fathom that. I offer none of the sought-after attributes of our day for a husband. Why would she choose me? But the question itself misses the point entirely. Even an attempt to answer it misrepresents our relationship. We are not chosen because we deserve to be chosen. The choice is an expression of the heart of the one who is doing the choosing. To realize we are chosen is to be given something life-changing. We have been chosen. And we have been made holy. And this notion of holiness is a bit strange to us. It means set apart, uncommon, not like everything else. Being chosen inevitably sets us apart. It's a meaningful thing that, as we accept that we have been chosen by God, changes us. It changes us to the point that our chosenness imbues the mundane with an awareness of the holy. So once we are chosen, all the normal things that we might do like every other person suddenly take on a holy nature. I think of Mary and Joseph. They knew they had been chosen. Remember the angels came and spoke to both of them in different ways, dreams and visions and that kind of thing. They could not have known the fullness of what they'd been chosen for, what it would mean for them in the unfolding drama of human history and so forth, but they did know that they had been chosen, and that made a huge difference. It imbued everything in their life with a sense of holiness. This chosenness allowed Mary to go ahead and accept that she was pregnant and not married. Now, that was a veritable death sentence socially as a young woman in her day. Now, it matters not really how you explain to yourself the process by which Mary became pregnant, but to be with child and without husband in that day put a young woman in an invidious situation. Mary's sense of having been chosen by God for a unique task and a unique role supplied the purpose and direction that her fraught life now needed. Aside from the gifts of the mysterious Magi, which are kind of strange in themselves, Mary and Joseph received no special dispensations. They didn't have magic tricks or special miracles that they could do or anything like that. They were just like any other couple of their day. They were just the same, and yet they were completely different. They had been chosen, and they knew it. Mary and Joseph both behaved in a very unique way as a result of their having been chosen. Mary resists the role of social reprobate and outcast, and that's not easy to do when your outer circumstances indicate that's what you are. It would have been par for the course for someone in Mary's situation to be outcast, to be a social reprobate. For a pregnant, unwed young woman in that time of history, you were no longer part of mainstream society. Joseph resists the role of jilted and betrayed lover. He accepts the inexplicable. I mean, imagine your partner coming to you. Men, your partner coming to you and say, "Oh, well, I'm pregnant." He proceeds to take Mary as his wife, despite the baby in the womb. Being chosen by God calls us in a unique way, and for us, we have a very helpful and clear and undeniably challenging example in the unique way that we are called as God's chosen. We are followers of Jesus. We are chosen and called to follow him. Not the way of most people, not the way that is native to our own instincts, and indeed in our day, a way that is even less and less recognised as even basically good. It's just seen as silly or naive. And yet it is a holy way, a very different way. And I don't think we could do it except that we know that we are beloved by God. It's easy to get the cart before the horse on this one, I reckon. We're prone to believe that it's our efforts in loving God that make the difference. But Jesus tells a really interesting story that best illustrates the dynamics of love. In Luke chapter 7, he's at a meal with Simon the Pharisee, and it's in an open courtyard, and a prostitute comes in and starts anointing Jesus' feet, and Simon is really put out by this. But Jesus tells this story. "Simon, I have something to say to you." And Simon replied, "Say it, teacher." "A moneylender had 2 debtors. One owed 5 denarii and the other 50. When they were both unable to repay, he graciously forgave them both. So which one of them will love him more?" "I suppose the one whom he forgave more," Simon answered him. Jesus said, "You have judged correctly." And this gives us an insight into the way love works in our hearts. If you want to make an effort to love God more, apply your effort to the realization of how much you have been loved. That's what will change your heart. And I think nothing makes life more worth living than knowing that we are loved. It's my experience that everything can be navigated reasonably well if I know that I am loved. I don't doubt it was Mary and Joseph's awareness that they were beloved of God, as the angel had announced it, that enabled them to look for the blessing of God in each twist and turn of their journey. Like they had to go to Bethlehem rather, and then they had to flee again. It would have been easy at any point along there to go, "God, are you sure you're loving us? I mean, this does not feel like my understanding of love." Rather than feeling abandoned or betrayed or hoodwinked or between a rock and a hard place, they looked for how God's love was being expressed in each and every one of their circumstances. They were held by something bigger than just their immediate circumstances. As most of you know, I have 2 adopted daughters, and Joe and I have worked long and deliberately to build a secure bond with our 2 daughters. We followed a model that's loosely called attachment parenting. So we were careful not to pass our girls around when they were very little so that they didn't get held by all the rallies and all the friends and stuff. We held them close and wanted to build that bond that we didn't have kind of naturally because they weren't born into our family. We watched, we waited on and responded as helpfully and attentively as we could while they were utterly dependent on us. We wanted them to feel attached to us, safe in our presence, aware that we would be there for them should they need us. And I have to say, I'm quite proud to say, we have been reasonably successful. Both our daughters are fairly secure young women now, and they feel that sense of being held in the world. They're not deeply insecure and needy in the way that some people experience life. And I tell you, we all need that. We all need to know that we are beloved and held in the world, no matter how young or old we are. That's the best foundation from which we can care for others and make a good contribution to our world. See, Paul outlines these amazing ways of relating one to another. And sometimes when I read the way he describes it, I think, no one can do that. I can't do that. I don't know anyone who can do that. But if you've got a good foundation, it becomes not just possible, it becomes more likely. If our foundation is the awareness that we have been chosen, that we have been made holy, and that we are beloved, from there we find it easier to engage others with the care that St. Paul describes, a heart of compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone. Just as the Lord forgave us, so also we should forgive. It is the way we know we have been loved that shapes the way we love others. It is from our abundant fullness that we offer life to others. Know that you are chosen. You are holy. You are beloved.